So one of the most talked about occurrences in warrior cats is, well, all the cats who are killed off. And out of all the top 10 topics that people use for warrior cats, top 10 saddest deaths has to be the most popular one that I've never covered. So why not? Keep in mind that this is a highly subjective topic. This is just the opinion of one person at one point in time, and this is by no means meant to be a definitive list in any way. So let's get into it. Number 10. Feathertail. What makes Feathertail's death so sad is not the crow-feather relationship, that's a bit underdeveloped. It's the bigger picture. The tribe cats were being the biggest jerks, and holding Stormfur hostage for some nonsense prophecy that paints completely unrealistic expectations on him to kill a mountain lion. But even after they save Stormfur, they still go back to help the tribe cats. These cats outside their code who treated them as disposable. And in the final confrontation, Feathertail jumps on a stalactite, giving her life to kill Sharptooth. Why? Well, because Crowpaw was in danger and voices in her head were telling her to do it, which unfortunately takes away from her agency in that moment, so the sacrifice doesn't quite feel like her decision. But bad writing aside, her death is still sad as heck. Here's this cat, who by no fault of her own, was called to sacrifice her life for a cause she didn't even know existed not too long ago. Ultimately, it's just a super selfless sacrifice for cats that maybe didn't deserve it. Number 9. Greywing. It's hard to put into words the tragedy of Greywing's death without summarizing the entirety of Dawn of the Clans, but this is the first time they killed off a POV that was with us for the entire story arc. They do an amazing job with the build-up as his health condition worsens over time. Greywing is by no means without his wrongdoings, but by the end of the arc he's finally becoming a better cat, and he's finally settling down. And he has to say goodbye to his kids before he can even reap the rewards of his retirement. Number 8. Rainflower. I can explain? As easy as it would be to just put Willowbreeze in this spot instead, I also think it's incredibly boring to pad this list out with only safe and agreeable choices. Let's play devil's advocate for once. Willowbreeze's death was sad and deserving of this list, yes, but there's simply more to discuss with Rainflower. Rainflower is by no means a good cat, don't get that twisted, but her character has complexity. Crooked Star abandons her in her dying moments to fight off a dog instead of getting a medicine cat for her, Mapleshade convincing him that she was beyond saving, and his troubled past with his mother making it easier for him to believe that. Rainflower's death marks the point where it's final that his mother will never change, never love him, and it also marks the point where his relationship with his brother Oakheart will never be fully patched, as Oakheart blames him for not saving her. And it's a huge point of guilt because he broke the warrior code because he couldn't stay unbiased, couldn't push back the influence of Mapleshade. And for what? Just to contribute to fighting a dog? To get credit for a more flashy achievement? It's just an all-around low point in his life, regardless of your opinions on Rainflower. Number 7. Bristlefrost. So my love for A Light in the Mist is significantly less than most people, and I don't really think her death was handled all that well. It was supposed to be this massive sacrifice, but the spectacle and the fallout were just lacking, in my opinion. And Bristlefrost's connection to Ashfur isn't that personal. One day I might make a longer video explaining just that's why it isn't number 1. That said, I'm not going to pretend her death wasn't sad just because I have problems with that book. It wouldn't feel right leaving her out of the top 10 completely. It is heartbreaking for her to spend all this effort to secure her future, only to have it slip away by her own sacrifice. And unlike Feathertail, there were no voices. It was all Bristlefrost. And of course we have to acknowledge that Bristlefrost doesn't even get to go to StarClan, which makes the whole situation all the more devastating. It's heartbreaking seeing Rootspring with the sudden loss of direction to his life. Number 6. Bumble. She just didn't deserve it, plain and simple. From Mosskit to Badgerfang to Swiftpaw, a lot of innocent cats are killed in warrior cats, but I'm gonna choose Bumble to represent them in this list, because she's killed to be made an example of. She is disrespected in life by being told she is too soft for the forest despite her being abused by Tom back in Two Leg Place, and in death she is still criticized for being too soft, in spite of the fact that she died not from being soft, but simply because no one bothered to stand by her side. In these cruel Dawn of the Clans times, she is not given any of the common decency a modern outsider like Daisy or Millie would be. The only thing that makes it hard to place her higher on this list is that some of her tragedy is unintentional by the authors. They aren't portraying her as a cat who was unfairly deemed unfit for the wild. They are just saying she was unfit, shown by the fact that even Turtletail agrees with it, so I can't give the writing team full credit. Number 5. Snowfur. I can't really say Snowfur's death was unexpected, because we knew very well she wasn't in Into the Wild, nor can I say that the very basic choice of getting hit by a car sets her death apart from other death scenes in Warrior Cats, but there are 2 things that actually do make it sad. First is that she leaves Bluefur on very bad terms. Her relationship with Bluefur's enemy and all-around bad cat Thistleclaw drives a wedge between them, and then right before her death, they argue about Bluefur having a crush on Oakheart, so it's really sad that Snowfur is gone before they can work that out. But what really makes the death sad is Snowfur's only kit, Whitekit, who Bluefur has to go back to camp and tell that Snowfur is never coming back, to which he is unable to understand due to childhood innocence. That's genuinely heartbreaking, especially so since Bluefur has a very similar experience with her own mother and knows the exact pain. Number 4. Needletail. Needletail was such an awesome character that had so much to show for her short time in the spotlight. Her loss is one of the most devastating. There was a very dynamic moral conflict between her battling the awful state of ShadowClan and the evil reign of Darktail, and Violet Paw getting caught up in everything. Her final sacrifice shows her character growth, its redemption for having dragged Violet Paw into such danger. It's simply one of the best Warrior Cats tragedies. If we compare it to Bristlefrost, it's more sad in many ways. Sacrificing to save someone is more emotional than just sacrificing to take down a bad guy that could have been defeated another way. Darktail and Needletail have a much more complicated relationship than Bristlefrost and Ashfur, because Needletail once looked up to Darktail and let him lead her down a path of ruin, and the fact that Darktail is not defeated yet keeps the emotions following this scene fresh, intense. And that's not to say that Bristlefrost is not sad, she makes the list too. It's just that Needletail's sacrifice was everything hers was and more. Number 3. Honeyfern. Power 3 is an anomaly for Warrior Cats writing, in that it barely has any deaths at all, not including extremely minor characters, off-screen deaths, or fake-out deaths. We have exactly 1, Honeyfern here. And by doing this, they unintentionally, or maybe intentionally, made one of the saddest deaths in the series. This arc has a lot more slice of life and status quo than most of Warrior Cats, and you get super familiar with the ThunderClan cast during this time, so when all of a sudden we're ripped out of that, you feel 10 times the impact of Warrior Cat's death normally would. And this was not a falling off a cliff or getting hit by a car type of scenario. This was a death from snake venom, one of the slowest and most painful ways to die Warrior Cats has. And they spare no details. This is gruesome, and everyone is watching. Seeing Berrynose, who prior to this was mostly used for comedic moments, be so shocked and devastated. It's such a dramatic shift in tone. It all adds up to make this one of the saddest deaths in Warrior Cats, even though Honeyfern is such a minor character. It's so heroic of her to make this sacrifice to save Briarkit. And speaking of Briarkit, number 2, Briarlight. I think all Warrior Cats fans are misty-eyed reading Briarlight's death. She was such a positive form of disability representation, and we were definitely not ready to see her go so soon. Opinions of whether or not killing her off was the right choice by the writing team aside, no one can deny her loss was devastating, especially in the method they chose. Her not seeking medicine cat care due to insecurities about other clanmates deserving the attention more during a sickness outbreak, effectively showing that she never stopped doubting herself all the way to her untimely demise. Most of the deaths on this list are heroic sacrifices because Warrior Cats most often uses those whenever they kill off a main character. It's typically more plot convenient, but I think a cat dying for nothing is widely underutilized in Warrior Cats writing. It's so gut-wrenching. And of course the revelation that no cat in ThunderClan agreed with her insecurity at the end ties it all together. Everyone is devastated, especially Jayfeather, who normally doesn't show such strong emotions. He was closer to her than most. Number 1, Cinderpelt. So Briarlight is the most devastating loss, but Cinderpelt I feel has the better overall story. The problem with the timing of Briarlight's death is that it really clashes with the events of River of Fire, and she isn't quite given all the attention to the plot she deserved, whereas other deaths in the series, such as Bristlefrost, Greywing, and Cinderpelt here, are more tied into the main story. And doing so is what makes Cinderpelt the best written and most sad death in the series, because a lot of plot events from the prologue to Leafpool's romance to the Badger attack all tie into her situation and make her death all the more tragic. So let's talk about that prologue. Absolute genius. A cat is told she is going to die, but it's not revealed to be Cinderpelt. So the first time reading you have all this tension wondering who it's going to be. And the second time reading it gives you a whole new perspective on what Cinderpelt is going through. She's not training Brightheart in medicine to try and replace Leafpool. She's doing so because she wants someone who can help Leafpool when she's gone. She's not being mean to Leafpool out of spite for her breaking the code, or because she doesn't understand Leafpool having emotions. She's doing so out of genuine fear that ThunderClan would be without a medicine cat. And she still doesn't tell Leafpool that she's going to die. She has that much respect for Leafpool to let her make her own choice. This lack of knowledge on Leafpool's end makes the way she treats Cinderpelt all the more tragic, and her coming back only to barely be able to say goodbye to Cinderpelt is devastating. It's the most attention a single book has given to one death, and some of the best writing Warrior Cats has to offer. As always, feel free to share your opinions in the comments. I apologize for not including Hollyleaf on this list. She's definitely an honorable mention. Alright, bye everyone.